we've got to make sure that we're in the right game. There's some cases where you actually might be a better second in command than the lead dog. And it's just not worth, if it's all about money and you're going to really destroy relationships while you're chasing the money, that's a raw deal. That's not what we should be doing. So I want you to, really maintain a very healthy body and a healthy mind. I think those two go hand in hand. How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business. Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. My name is Max. I'm the CEO at Smith & Sons Remodeling Experts Canada, and welcome to you if you're in YouTube land. Thanks for joining with us. Obviously the typical housekeeping, like and subscribe, hit the bell, all that sort of wonderful stuff. Leave some comments. I'll do my best to get back to you. Certainly if you want to hit me up directly, go to the businessforbuilders.ca page and go to the contact us form there, and that'll end up in my inbox. That's going to be the best way to go. So this episode, again, like most of the others, we want to really try and provide some really good steak and potatoes, some nuts and bolts, if you like. Before I get cracking, don't forget to head across to the Business for Builders VIP private Facebook group, power of community camaraderie and collaboration. Doink, that's the one. So, get across there and ask to join that, and I'll let you in. And where are we at? So today, what I want to do, a bit of a follow-up, because we've done these two in close proximity, if you like. This is episode 122. And on the last episode, I talked about organization, effective time management, and tidiness. And so what I wanted to do, and that's very much systems and processes, and that's very external. It's kind of like software this and get your shit organized on site and all that sort of stuff. And so that was sort of one part of, some thoughts I was having from an experience, just recently with one of my general contractors who lost his project manager. And then I sort of started to think too, I thought, well, why wasn't this project manager, who I ended up doing an orientation with the general contractor because I had agreed and he'd agreed to have me on as his interim project manager. And we raced around and we looked at 4 projects and we looked at the state of the union as it relates to where were the projects up to. And it was quite a mess, quite disappointing actually. And I just wondered in myself, as we were driving around, there was a bunch of practical things, like I said, systems and processes and external things, and just, benchmarks that weren't reached and things like that. And then I sort of took another step back and I thought, I wonder why a guy that just has to worry about product delivery, as in the project, I'm not talking about getting 2x4s delivered, I'm talking about project delivery, getting the project done. Why was there such disorganization and such dysfunction? And it wasn't like there wasn't systems in place. There was just no execution. And then I sort of thought to myself, well, how many builders out there are having a really hard time, or general contractors having a really hard time? Because they aren't, haven't got their, things organized, and they don't have effective time management systems, and, their job sites are a mess because they just don't have time to, apply the proper protocols and follow up and, chastise certain trades and suppliers, etc. There may be a more of a deep-rooted cause than just, they haven't got their shit together. And so today I'm going to talk about the negative impact of that feeling of overwhelm that is on you and I as builders. I've seen it several times where builders or general contractors have got such great obligation that it really does. They're like deer in the headlights. They just get stunned. They're just busy. They're flailing, right? They're floundering. They're like a ship without a rudder. They're just kind of going with whichever way the wind blows, whichever way the storm carries them. That's the way they go. And ultimately that does end up in business destruction. So, what I want to cover off is a few things here. And unlike the last episode where I talked a little bit about systems and processes and very practical outward stuff, what I want to talk about is the human and the more of the internal stuff that out of that feeling that is inside a person, then all of a sudden the external things that we expect to be upheld are not being upheld. And so Look, I want to really just quack. I just want to chat quickly about, a few of the things and a few of the, I guess, outcomes if you are in a sense of overwhelm. Now, be encouraged. When you are overwhelmed, it means you're right on the threshold of breaking through. So you've really got to have the ability to really just gather yourself up and hold your nerve, but always be looking at, okay, why am I in this position? Why is there a sense of overwhelm? And what is it that I'm going to do to walk myself out of here? It's interesting because I don't know if I shared the whole Mount Everest thing. Have I been around that, Dom? Did I talk a bit about that? Can't remember. Well, if we can't remember, they can't remember. So let's get on with it. But it was interesting. I just got kind of sucked into the Netflix vortex, as it related to documentaries around climbing Mount Everest. And I mean, I am not that outdoorsman type person. I don't dig that shit. I love motor racing and football. Like that's kind of, but climbing mountains, and I don't even do cold here. If it's 5 below and I got to go from my truck to the front door of the office, I'm already crying like a baby. So I don't do cold. So when I watch things about Mount Everest, I just sit there shivering and I'm sucking on a whiskey because I'm cold. But it's 23.5 degrees inside. So just want to let you know it doesn't turn me on. But what it was interesting to note is how humanity operates when it really finds itself in a position of challenge. And there was, and I think I have shared this a little bit. So pardon me if I'm repeating some stuff. It's just really good stuff. But there was one journalist that was asking, hey, the mountaineers, why do you bother trying to climb Mount Everest when 1 out of 4 mountaineers die? He couldn't understand, and I can't understand that. I'm not willing to take that chance. And all of these mountaineers almost simultaneously said, because it's there. And they just love the game, right? And so there's a whole bunch of things that I'm taking out of those documentaries that I will, that I look at my business life and treat climbing Mount Everest just like it's me wanting to build a multi-million-dollar national business. And it's interesting when, the people that did make it up, literally there's a point where they just put their finger right on top of Mount Everest, and it's the highest place in the world. And it must be a remarkable feeling, but there's enough videos out there. I don't actually need to go there, so I'm good. But it's interesting that a lot of the climbers that go up the mountain, where most of the fatalities take place is when they're trekking back down the mountain. And I think to myself, and yet there's so many people that get so close to it, literally 800 meters. I mean, I don't know how high the thing is. It's like 8,000 meters seems like a number, or it's probably more than that. But they get within 800 meters of the summit, and for what either it just exhausted, run out of oxygen, maybe you've got frostbite early stages, or whatever the case may be, and they've actually got to then turn around and descend back down to base camp. And so I just think for us in business, we come across, or we experience the same thing. There is times in our business life whereby we go so close to the summit, we get so close to being there, and then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, we've got to turn around, we've got to backtrack, we've got to take 2 steps backwards. And I think this is where I think if you become disillusioned, and the guys that, some of the guys that got to the summit of Mount Everest, they had been attempting it a few times before. And so, it's not like they all show up, go to base camp, and then motor up to the top of the hill and high-five each other and come back down again. I think there's so much more loss, and it's treacherous as anything, and there's so much loss there when you compare it to how many humans actually make it to the top of Everest. And so, I want that to be an encouragement, because it is life. We build business because that's the option that we've chosen. We could sit down, and just look up at this mountain and not try and ascend that mountain, but we choose to actually try to climb the mountain because there's something about the mountain that we want to overcome and that we want to beat. And so we just find ourselves going back there. And for me as an entrepreneur, despite all of the challenging parts about climbing this business mountain, for me, it's not negotiable. I can't go and work a job at Home Depot for the rest of my life. It's just never going to happen. Sure, there might be time away from the mountain, perhaps. But ultimately, I'll be packing up, ready to go back to the mountain and give it another shot. So today I'm going to talk about a sense of overwhelm. So that was an introduction. How was that? Oh, he hates it when I do that. All right, let's get through this really quick. But I'm just trying to tackle the human aspect of running these construction businesses because there are so many humans that die on the damn mountain. And that is a fact. I mean, lots, So, the high percentage of failure that happens not because they don't have access to the right equipment. It happens because something in that human gives up. And so, and of course, it doesn't generally lead in physical tragedy like it does on Mount Everest, but there is definitely financial tragedy. There's no question. Okay, so a sense of overwhelm can undermine the leadership effectiveness in several ways. So if you're thinking to yourself, I know better, and there's all these sorts of things that are happening, it could be because you are carrying a sense of overwhelm, and what it's doing is it's really undermining your leadership effectiveness as a general contractor. So let's quickly charge through these because, it's Super Bowl Sunday, so we want to get cracking. All right, so number one, decreased productivity. When a leader feels overwhelmed, they may struggle to focus. And that's key. When you lose, it was funny, one of the last documentaries I was watching there was a guy up there who was close to the summit and he didn't make it, but he was having conversations with people that weren't there. Yeah, he kind of lost his focus. There was something happening. Apparently his brain swells and then all kinds of weird shit happens. So another reason why I don't want to go there. I've only got a little brain, so it wouldn't, swell much, whatever. Okay, when a leader feels overwhelmed, they may struggle to focus and be less productive, leading to delays and mistakes that can impact the bottom line. So, decreased productivity. If you are overwhelmed, your ability to focus will mean that you're less productive. And, of course, that will lead to, delays and, of course, mistakes. So there's one thing to, that because of your feeling of sense of overwhelm, it'll be decreased productivity. Straight after that, number two, loss of motivation. Overwhelm can lead to burnout and decreased motivation, which can negatively impact the morale of team members and reduce their productivity, and, of course, you as well. There's nothing that motivates you more than small wins. They can really re-energize yourself. And I think when you're trying to dig yourself out of a big hole, you really need to, understand that it's going to take some time for you to recover. There's no silver bullet. There's no magic elixir. It's going to be something that's going to be a fight, and it's going to take you a bit of time. Matter of fact, a video that I watched, and you might have seen it. I think he was a Navy SEAL, and he talked about that how making your bed is a win. And so if you want to know what that video is, I can chase it down. I actually played in my training, my training days with my new franchise general contractors. And it's really powerful because it talks about just making your bed, because you know that when you come home, at least you got something done right that day. And so it's really, a lot of this revolves around self-talk as well, because it's like, Max, how do I get motivated? Well, you've got to find something you love. You've got to reconcile that if you want to master that which you love to do, then you've got to have a great relationship with pain, and you've got to have a terrific work ethic. Those two things. And so, we sometimes want to negotiate success, and it just does not negotiate, unfortunately. Another story I get told is that, there was and this has got something to do with helping you to get motivated. You've got to understand the power of those little things, because it's from those little things that big things grow. But there was a donkey that fell down a well, and basically it was too heavy to lift out, and it certainly couldn't get out itself. So what they thought they would do is they thought, well, the donkey's down there, we can't be drinking out of that water, so what we'll do is we'll just fill the well in. So as the village people, not as in YMCA village people, where do I come up with this shit? But as the folks in that village, they thought, well, we've got to fill this well in. They would throw dirt into the well. And so as these people would throw the dirt and want to backfill and bury this donkey alive, the donkey would just keep stepping up on top of the dirt that was getting thrown on top of him. And so obviously over time, as these people were just trying to bury this donkey, he just popped his head up, because all of the dirt that was cast upon him and thrown on him that was designed to bury him actually gave him life. And so I want to encourage you today that sometimes we all feel like there is just an unbelievable amount of shit getting thrown on top of our head, but I want you to put it down under your feet and use it to get out. I want you to use it to your advantage. And so that might be the motivating thing that you need to hear today, because it is the small wins over a long term that you do consistently that will help you win. And so this is why you've got to have the power of positive thinking. But you've also got to take action, and you really can't sit still. You've got to be doing the work as well. Okay, so loss of motivation. That's another thing that can undermine your leadership effectiveness. Okay, poor decision making. Overwhelm can lead to poor decision making and a lack of judgment. So this is point number 3, which can result in costly mistakes and negatively impact the overall success of a project. I think when we look at the story I told you at the beginning of the show about, the project that we went to, and we had, a renovation that was going on. It was a main floor renovation, and we're talking kitchen, bathroom, and master bath. And, what we had simultaneously, we had open stud walls where the electrical hadn't got an electrical certificate yet, but is due to happen in the next 24, 48 hours. We had a ceramic tile that had already started the floors in the 2 bathrooms. And the drywall was incomplete because we couldn't cover the electrical up. And we had a mudder and taper, or a setter, if you're in Australia or New Zealand, doing mud and tape. And it's like nobody could actually finish what they started. This is ridiculous. And so what happens is you now have this one trade that's going to have to go away, and we need him back at some point in the very near future. But what if he gets tied up on a big job where he can't get out for 3 or 4 weeks? What are we going to do then? And so I think if you are feeling overwhelmed, your ability to think categorically and to compartmentalize projects and the people that you need to do that, if you don't have that clarity of thought because you are overwhelmed, it's like a black cloud, it's like a fog, then what you're going to find is that your decisions that you do make to try and move the job ahead are going to be very poor decisions. And of course, that will negatively impact on your project, and certainly your bottom line when you come to back costing and assessing the profitability of the job. And look, you would do that to yourself, but guaranteed that if you don't watch project managers who are supposed to be there delivering that project to clients on your behalf as a competent leader on that job, if you don't understand the human that you've got on that job, then what you're going to find is you're the one who's going to be stuck carrying the bag because they just either quit or resign or go get another job or just walk away. And you're the guy or girl with the contract with the client. You have to, tidy that shit up and get it done. So, focus on who the people are that you've got working for you, both for things that are external, so good systems and processes, but also pay a little bit of attention to how those individuals are going with their home life, because that's certainly, if things are in order at home, work is easy. If things are not in order at home, work is exponentially much more difficult. So keep that in mind. Family first, priority on first things first, and then what you'll find is when you come to work, the things at work will be significantly more simple to understand and to execute off the back of. So if you've got a high sense of overwhelm, it's going to affect your leadership, and part of that is poor decision making. Okay, that was point number 3. Point number 4, we're talking about loss of confidence. Nothing gets you, a little bit wobbly than making a couple of decisions in a row that weren't the best decisions, or maybe looking at something that's come up on a job and all of a sudden you think to yourself, why did I do that? And then going forward, you start to second guess yourself. So here's what happens. You're on this, you've taken a bit of a hit, you've lost a bit of altitude, and then you fail to regain the confidence because of that micro failure, let's call it. And because of that loss of confidence, your ability to lead then has been compromised. And so it's very important that we assess it for what it is. And I tell you, not all sportsmen, but there's a lot of sportsmen, professional sports people that have the ability to have a bit of a bad run even, but know full well that deep down inside, they're good enough. It was just a season. There was just things going on and the ball didn't bounce right, but it's not an indictment against their skills and their ability as an operator or as a performer. And so, I think as business guys and girls, we need to understand that sometimes there's gonna be some stormy waters to negotiate and navigate. We're going to go up a dead-end street occasionally. It's just par for the course. We all do it, okay? So, there's nothing special about you in the areas of failure. We all do it. We just got to ensure that we're failing forward. So, loss of confidence. Overwhelm can lead to a loss of confidence and self-doubt, which can erode a leader's authority and impact their ability to effectively lead and manage their team. So, guys and girls, you've got to be focusing on yourself both externally, where there's systems and processes, but you need to pay more attention to the internal workings of you and I as humans. And I think, what you think about determines how you feel determines your actions and activities. Actions and activities that are consistently being undertaken develop into routines and habits. And out of those routines and habits, we end up with a result, and that result normally is locked in concrete. So you want to make sure when you go all the way back that what's in your head as it relates to your own security, whether that there's not an insecurity there, but that you have a very healthy ego mixed with an equal amount of humility, and that you understand, your limitations, but you also understand the things that you do well. We've got to make sure the human side of us as general contractors is in order. So in conclusion, maintaining a well-organized, efficient, and tidy job site, because we talked about that in the last episode, as well as managing the risks of overwhelm, is essential for maximizing profitability and ensuring effective leadership in and on a renovation project. So, I want you guys and girls to be encouraged. There's a lot of blinging going around, and I love kind of just bringing to the surface the human side of it. I mean, Simon Sinek does an awesome job at really humanizing the workspace. And, I am a bit of a brutal operator, but, I do understand that you are only going to do something for your reasons. It's amazing. I've got a few kids, but I've got one kid that it doesn't really enjoy school. And, I watch my wife beat her over the head, metaphorically speaking, trying to make her do something, and she's just disinterested, But if she wanted to do something, you don't have to beat her for it. She's already doing it. And so, guys and gals, we've got to make sure that we're in the right game. There's some cases where you actually might be a better second in command than the lead dog. And it's just not worth, if it's all about money and you're going to really destroy relationships while you're chasing the money, that's a raw deal. That's not what we should be doing. So I want you to, really maintain a very healthy body and a healthy mind. I think those two go hand in hand. And always, I guess the only time you want to look down on someone is if you're giving them a hand up. So if you need a hand up today, hit me up on email, shoot across to businessforbuilders.ca website. Go to the contact form. That'll end up in my email. If you've got any more thoughts or concerns around, a sense of overwhelm as a general contractor, then feel free to reach out. Be sure to shoot across to the Facebook, the Business for Builders private Facebook group. Hit the join button. I'll let you in there if you're a good sort. And, you can experience the power of community and collaboration and camaraderie inside that group. Ask a bunch of questions. I want people to feel safe in there. So hope that helps. Hope that helps you deal with the sense of overwhelm. Understand that overwhelm, you're right on the threshold of breakthrough, but breaking through is a challenge in itself. It's like making an assault on the summit of Mount Everest, and it is straight up. And so I'd encourage you to go and just sort of, go and check out some Mount Everest documentaries. They're pretty interesting, and it's very similar to building a business. So, some of the pain and struggle that goes on, but then some of the exhilaration when you do actually break through. So good on you guys. We're going to enjoy some Super Bowl. Go build a kick-ass business, and we'll see you on the next episode. Cheers.